with Monday Miracles with Miss Blipper. Miss Blipper, I'm going to take the opportunity to tell you that I have never had the honor or pleasure of sitting side by side with a Course in Miracles teacher such as you. Your insights, your wisdom, your compassion is far above any course teacher I have ever had the pleasure of sitting across from.
Yeah, I just won the Olympics. I'm currently the best Olympic gymnast in the world.
I have
Yeah.
no doubt. I have no doubt.
Yeah.
Hey, Kat. Hey, Ellie. On a serious note, I do look forward to Mondays, and I do look forward sitting across from you and having these discussions. And I know everyone looks forward to the great fishbowl of imperatives that makes its appearance every Monday. Hey, Mustafa. Mustafa says, Miss Blipper, the most beautiful flower in the world.
So sweet and kind. Thank you, Mustafa.
Hey, Lady Sky. Go ahead, Lady Sky. Get it out of your system.
What is she going to tell us? Oh, Seahawks win, Yogi.
Yeah.
All right.
It means I have to sing a song of her selection next week.
Yes, she named the song too. Do you remember what it was?
My Sharona? Inagata Navita? Girls just want to have fun. She wore an itsy bitsy teeny weeny yellow polka dot bikini.
No. It wasn't because you said you had sung that other one in karaoke. I love you,
Oh, right.
baby.
Yeah. I've sung it here actually. I sang it.
Really?
Uh-huh. We'll do that again.
Okay.
Ellie says, "I love that song. Which song do you love?" Lady Sky is laughing. Ellie says, "Yes, sing it, Yogi."
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready. If you want to, get it over with, you
Well,
don't have to.
she has to pick it, and I think she has a song in mind from the remake of A Star Is Born, and I don't know it, so I need a week of practice.
Preparation. Okay.
Yep.
A week of torture.
For everyone, if they hear me practice, a week of torture for them.
Right.
Hey, do you know the name Steve? I believe it's pronounced Physic, but it's Physioc.
I don't think so.
He's my guest tomorrow at 1:00. He's a Emmy Award-winning play-by-play baseball announcer for Kansas City Royals.
How cool is that?
And he's done some stuff for the NFL on um, ESPN, and he's written historical fiction. And in his historical fiction, he blends lessons from A Course in Miracles on forgiveness. And
Lovely.
him and his wife are very, very devoted to working with the Course in Miracles. And he wants to talk about how he's done that. He wants to talk specifically I think we are going to talk specifically about lesson 193, which is one of those lessons that I think another one that sums up the whole practice of the Course, that all things are lessons God would have me learn.
Sure. Beautiful lesson.
Imagine if we approached life with that sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's like saying that is a very I don't even know the right adjective to use. It's if we can acknowledge that everything that we're perceiving, or everything around us is eh, for is for our learning, is for our growing, is for our shift in perception, basically. um that kind of means that it's like the proof that we've had the willingness to lay down judgments, because you can only look at everything kind of as that sort of a gift if you're not judging it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I do.
Hmm.
And I love the, hey, Heavenly Star, I love the tone of it. Are lessons God would have me learn, um, meaning that I don't have to say, I know what this is for. I don't
Right.
have to, um, I don't have to make any assumptions about it. And I can say, I don't understand this, but it is a lesson God would have me learn. And I will, hey, Heavenly, thank you so much. Be up for 6 months. Um, Sometimes I think, so we're at day 40 if people have been proceeding,
Hmm.
uh, lesson one to where we are today. Um, and I sort of sometimes get afraid that people take the course as this like great weighty tome, that is issuing these proclamations. You must do this, you must do that. Um,
Imperatives, you mean, like my
Imperatives.
physical?
Well, but even the imperatives that it offers are gentle. The course is really a gentle approach.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, no, the imperatives actually, for me, they aren't always so gentle necessarily, but the fact that I've put them all into one, here's one, or here's another, or another, they're not like coming like a boulder and, rolling over. But I actually think it's not necessarily a camp in Course in Miracles, a camp in miracles, but the whole kind of idea of spirituality in general that people struggle with in that
Right.
way.
Um, the guest, Nava Raphael, on Saturday,
Hmm.
um, she talked about her journey through a lot of New Age um, teachings
Hmm.
before she came to the course. And there was a lot of bypassing going on that left her feeling like she was a failure. She didn't raise her vibrations high enough. She wasn't a good manifester. Um, that her chakras weren't aligned and everything was her fault. Um, and that's really where the course takes it a whole nother direction. It's not telling you to that you need to raise your vibrations, that you need to be perfect, and that you need to walk through um, life with this holier than thou attitude. You're thrown in the thick of it.
If there was one thing that the Course in Miracles says loud and clear that I would like take a highlighter to and write it all over the world, write all over it, highlight it completely, is eh, you are loved by God, and God sees you as completely innocent. You
Right.
know, stop right there. I don't really, anything else is like details.
Amazing thing is how the opposite has been, even if you're not religious, the opposite has been instilled in us. Everyone
Yeah,
knows they're guilty of
yeah.
something.
And
Um,
and has been taught. We've all been taught that our identity, and our intelligence and our well-being can be established by us.
right. Hey, Kelly. So
Or
guys,
should be,
any
or should be.
hey DC, any questions for Miss Blipper, for Miss Blipper and I that you want us to bat around? Anyone who has been traveling with us up until day 40, or no matter where you are uh, in the course, uh, we might not have answers, but we can make something up.
That's true. Meanwhile, I was going to ask you if you had, by any chance, and you probably didn't, taken a look at that poem about Monet's water lilies.
I have not, but I was going to ask you. I'm glad you brought that up. If you would like to give a dramatic presentation,
Um, I don't, I can read it. I did write it down somewhere here. I don't know about dramatic presentations, but I was kind of looking at two things. Um, there's the poem itself, which poems themselves, I mean, some people like poetry and some people don't. You and I are both people who like poetry in general. I mean, we have brains that seem to respond to poetry. The poetic mind is
Right.
like good for us, you know. But I recognize that not everybody's like that. It's not terribly long, which is a good thing. Um, but it is um, kind of hardcore as poems go. It's short, but it's not sweet necessarily. It's kind of intense. So I thought maybe there's just reading it, and you can kind of like a picture on the wall, just let people ignore it or look at it as they like, you know. But I didn't know whether you wanted to unpack it.
We could do that. Before we get started on that, DC Long says, "When was the first moment in your life that you realized what love truly is?"
Well, for me, it's that's kind that's a great question. But for me, truly is for me the truth of all that. I'm still discovering. I'm still learning.
That's where I was going to go. That more importantly than discovering what love truly is that getting rid of the false layers of what love truly isn't.
Right, the undoing. I'm still in the
Right.
undoing of
Me too.
what isn't. Mm-mm.
And I think I think realizing that that's the real journey is one of the most important realizations that you can have because it takes you from searching for something outside of you, always chasing that dangling carrot in front of you, um, to just letting life sort of reveal itself uh, in more and more depth. That those layers of falsity, did I say
Hmm.
that right?
Falsity.
Um, falsity
Hmm.
um, are let go of. The
Yeah,
more we practice,
yeah. I mean, if if one adopts the premise that love is what you are and take it from there, there's been so many um steps along the way, and um inspirational moments, but also tons of doubt. So you know, it's a metamorphosis so
it
far
is.
for me.
I like that word metamorphosis
So do I.
because it's like we're stewing out our own cocoon juices, being mushed down to um, a softness that
Yeah, and it also implies, gosh, the word in Italian would be coinvolgimento. Uh, it involves, with your cocoon image, rightly, a um, it lends itself to the image of being a cohesive with everything else. Back to your
right.
idea of what you were saying, uh, everything can be. What was that lesson 190 something? That everything is a lesson.
All things are lessons God would have me learn. So
Yeah.
DC continues and says, "I feel like I lost my ability to truly love after the war. I still know the lyrics, but the song has stopped playing for me." We unpack that a little bit too.
Yeah, I want to hear it. Which song?
Well, he's speaking metaphorically that
Okay.
his the song of love.
Okay.
He doesn't know the lyrics anymore, but well, he still knows the lyrics of it. He can still talk about love and wish for
Hmm.
love and hope for love,
Hmm.
but the song has stopped playing for him.
Wow, so he's not feeling it.
Right.
All right. So I guess what I would look at, I mean, or try to look at, is um why, what's going on there, what could be, what about me, and what about my thinking, what am I putting out there that could seem like um it's impeding somehow.
I like that. Um, you know, I think that bringing up lesson 193 serves so much. So if we think of all things are lessons God would have me learn, and
Mhm.
the only lesson that we have to learn is what you said, that we are love.
Yeah,
Um,
we're not separate from love. It's a
right,
part of it. It's we
and
got it.
and
And
we
it's
can change the word love to God if we wanted to, or the universe, or the Tao, or whatever. Um, so,
truth.
DC, the fact that you feel like you've lost your ability to truly love is just another barrier to the love that's already present, right? So it's a lesson um, that God would have you learn that you are already that in which we seek. You're already that. Um, and he says, I have no hate or animosity for anyone, and I'm perpetually positive. I had to do things that broke me. I think being broken is sometimes a good thing because it
Yeah, I was
reveals your
gonna say.
spaciousness.
It's there's a lot of sincerity in what's being said, because we can feel lost from our sense of love. That's there is a place um for that, but if it can be lost, it can be found too. It doesn't die.
Right. And I think that feeling brokenness um, causes us to start looking. It causes um, it was my own sense of being inadequate, of not feeling like anyone could possibly truly love me, uh, that led me to start seeking for answers, which led me to the course, which eventually, uh,
Led you to me.
it did. Uh-huh.
I should change my name to Miss Miracle.
Miss Miracle. And I actually like that. And Monday Miracles with Miss Miracles would fit,
Right,
or
lends some
Mondays with Miss
sense.
Miracle, that would fit. Um,
No, but
but
it also
I think
sounds a little bit too much like mistake, Miss
that's
Miracle
true. That's true.
mistake
Well, I
and
guess
misperception.
maybe we should just leave it,
Yeah, I think
Miss
so.
Blipper. Hey, Jamie. Um, so DC, feel free to keep adding stuff in if you want. We'll keep adding back. Do you want me to bring up that poem on my webpage?
Yeah, do you want me to read it and you unpack it, or vice versa?
Um, I could try to read it. You know it better, so I think you'd be able to unpack it.
I've read it like 3 times, so not so many, but well, tell you what, I'll read it, and if you think it merits unpacking, then we'll unpack it. We'll decide
Okay.
together. We can unpack it together.
Give me the title, and I can read through it as you're reading too.
Okay, it's called Monet's Water Lilies, and it's by
Ah,
Robert Hayden.
came
He
right up.
was the first African American poet laureate in the United States. I think he died in the 1960s.
Uh, well, I did not expect that beginning. I was thinking, I was thinking something soft and you know,
And yeah, little
yeah,
purple
Monet,
colors and little
yeah, Monet
green,
like.
fluffy water, sweet bird sounds.
So how about you read it, and I will give a dramatic presentation in the form of modern dance as you read.
I don't know if that'll work, but like I said, it's hardcore. So this poem is called Monet's Water Lilies. It's by Robert Hayden. Big breath. Today, as the news from Selma and Saigon poisons the air like fallout, I come again to see the serene, great picture that I love. Here, space and time exist in light. The eye, like the eye of faith, believes. The seen, the known, dissolve in iridescence, become elusive flesh of light that was not, was, forever is. O light beheld as through refracting tears. Here is the aura of that world each of us has lost. Here is the shadow of its joy.
Interesting. And never once is Monet's water lilies spoken of.
I just think he was in a state of meditation, and that's where he went with it.
So this is what the water lily spoke of,
To Robert Hayden.
right? So transcending the horrors of the modern world, and being blasted at you from, and man, we think of Selma and Saigon, so we're thinking from uh, 1960 something to 75 when Saigon fell. Um, you know, and imagine nowadays with the 24/7 media being blasted at us. Um, but the sensitivity of getting all that poison in the air, like fallout, as he says, um, and how he come again to see the serene, great picture that I love. Um, Taking refuge in the beauty of a water lily,
Maybe that's a
great work of
nice.
great work of another.
I come again to see the serene, great picture that I love. So, yeah, I guess it. He's looking at something horrid, Saigon, Selma, hard things to look at. And instead, he becomes serene when he looks at, Monet's water lilies at this other perfect, beautiful scene.
Let me ask you a question.
Mm.
What do you have in your life that you can look at serene, and um, that it helps you not so much escape, but maybe come to terms with the horrors of um, the landscape
The
of,
outside blasting of
yes.
negativity and
Do you
horror.
have your own? Do you have your own Monet's water lilies?
I I do. I do. Um, but um I think and this might be very disappointing to a lot of people. I think it's inside. I think it's inside me. I think my water lilies are inside me. Not in a
I like that.
private sense. I'm all for sharing them, Um, but it is an internal um resource more than an external one for me.
Um, I'm of the belief that all art, no matter how you judge it, uh, doesn't become art until it's shared in some way.
Mm,
Uh, and I like that thought that you said, that um, you put it out there, you give it away.
yeah, yeah. I'm
Um,
I One of the things that I love, again, back to the course in describing, and I don't know if I've spoken to you about it in this way or not already, about the holy instant, that the holy instant is bling of moment where it's like, uh-huh, where I'm not creating, I'm not blocking the here and now with, my memory of the past or putting it in there or whatever. The thing with the holy instant is there are no private thoughts. There
right.
are no, it's not holding back anything. It's almost just the opposite. It's like the recognition that you keep something by giving it away.
Um, and you mentioned the that internal, um, which made me think of one of my all-time favorite passages in literature, from Herman Melville,
Hmm.
when he talked about insular Tahiti. If you want me to read that.
Yeah, sure.
Um, Consider the subtleness of the sea, how its most dreaded creatures glide under water unapparent of the most part for the most part, and treacherously hidden beneath the loveliest tints of azure. Consider also the devilish brilliance and beauty of many of its most remorseful tribes, as the daintily embellished shape of many species of sharks. Consider once more the universal cannibalism of the sea, all whose creatures prey upon each other, carrying on eternal wars since the world began. Consider all of this, and then turn to the green, gentle, and most docile earth. Consider them both, the sea and the land, and do you not find a strange analogy to something in yourself? For as this appalling ocean surrounds the verdant land, so in the soul of man there lies one insular Tahiti, full of peace and joy, but encompassed by the horrors of the half-known life. God keep thee, push not off the isle, thou canst never return. And that you summed that up like beautifully when you were talking about um, that the insular Tahiti or Monet's water lilies, um, whatever it is for each of us that we carry in our heart. And the thing is, we know from the course that peace, that brilliance, that love needs to be extended, or it's not real.
Well, it's shared. It has to be shared. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
It's nature, it was really funny. I got into this strange conversation with this one I've never met before, who was having some problems. I don't know. She's struggling with something, but it was just like, yeah, it's the nature. The nature of love is to extend itself. You know.
And that's where we find our peace. That's our little isle. That's our water lily. Is whatever it is that holds that beauty and love within us. And like you said, um, our mission, our purpose, our function is to share that. I do want to ask anyone in the chat, um, is there, what do you guys, what water lily, what insular Tahiti do you carry with you that you're able to turn to in any times, hey Sniper, in any times of trouble, in any times of um, great sadness or bitterness or whatever, over being overwhelmed by the process of life? You reading Sniper's comment?
I am, just because it's like seven's like my favorite number. Totally.
Yeah, you know what I noticed about seven?
What?
It's greater than six, but it's not. It's not quite as great as eight.
Oh, you're an eight fan?
I do like eight actually.
It's that like
Um,
eternity thing going on.
yeah. And then of
Loopiness.
course four because the four directions of the universe, the four corners, the United
New
States.
Mexico flag.
Hey, Star Seeker, thank you. Uh huh.
Hmm.
Four states of consciousness according to Vedantic yoga.
Four levels of, well, actually five levels of the soul in Kabbalah. But one of them is the kind of the whole that contains the other four. Yeah.
Big thank you, Star Seeker. Appreciate it. Um, Thank you for sharing that poem with me. That's going up there in some of my favorites.
It's a good one.
It is. Hey, are you a
It's
fan
a
of
good
James
one because
Baldwin?
it speaks of kind of transformation in my head. That's what I it it's
Transformation
like,
and transcendence at the same
yeah,
time.
yeah.
David says eight is the start of another seven.
Sevens go on forever and ever.
All the way to seven, all the way to heaven, as I always say, starting right now.
Right. Thank you for that.
Are you a fan of James Baldwin?
I am a big James Baldwin fan.
What a elegantly outspoken
Beautiful, just beautiful articulation
and the
and
dignity.
straightforward, not holding back at all. Talk about sharing. He had
Right,
he had things the world still needs to hear, as far as I'm concerned.
the dignity of an unbroken man in a world that was designed to break him. You know, um, Let me bring up James Baldwin. What about as we're dealing with African American poets, Langston Hughes?
Also, yeah. We were going to talk, if anybody's interested, we were going to talk about open-mindedness. That was the theme of tonight. So we're just going all over the place with it.
Let me bring up. Do you want to go to what the course says in the
Yeah.
10 characteristics of God's teachers?
Go for it. I would love to hear open-mindedness. It will be the third time today that I'll be through it, so maybe something will ring my bell.
Let's see.
Hi, toy pups. No worries.
So let me start with that there are 10 characteristics of God's teachers. The very first one is trust, and everything in its way leads back to trust. This is the only of the 10 characteristics that is broken down into parts. It has trust, and then it has the development of trust, and then it has a breakdown of the development of trust. And you can't have honesty, which is the second. You can't have tolerance, gentleness, joy, defenselessness. You
None of
certainly
it.
can't have,
All of them rest on trust.
right.
Because trust relies on our letting go
Yep.
of judgment.
Especially when you think of defenselessness and generosity. I have to have trust that my generosity is never going to deplete me, that I'm connected to the source. So all things are always given. So I have all things to give out, to give away. I'm never depleted of love, ever. I can't be.
Yeah, but it also speaks of generosity as not like forgiveness, generosity not being that generosity the world looks at, the way the
Right.
world normally looks at generosity. It's like a generosity of uh, welcome, of forgiveness, a spirit. Yeah.
Before we go a little bit farther, I wanted to say hi to Sherry, our friend Sherry.
Hi,
Is that
Sherry.
Tiger King? Was Tiger King here? Oh, Lee says, Tiger King, if you're watching, pal, hope you're okay. And we get a peace sign from Falcon. And Toy Pup says, I love you so much, Ms.Blipper. Can you tell Yogi Toy Pup
Yeah.
says hi? And love you guys so much. Ms.Blipper, can you shout out Cat and Jack? I love you.
Hey,
You're the best.
Cat and Jack.
Um,
Love from Toy Pops, Cat and Jack. I'd
can you
love
read
if
me something
Miss.
from the Fishbowl?
Uh-huh.
Um,
I will. I'll do that right now, and then we'll get back to open-mindedness because I don't know if Toy Pops is enough.
as you do that, I'm gonna run into the other room real quick, and I'll be right back, and then we'll get into
All right.
open-mindedness.
Great. Okay, Toy Pops. I reached in the fishbowl and it says, "Ask only, do I really want to see him as sinless?" That's what it says. So unpacking it, not that I have to, but the course defines sin as the idea that there's a lack of love. So it's like, is it asking yourself, do you really want to see somebody else as not lacking in love? There you go. Oh, Star Seeker. Yes, you can have a fishbowl too, please. Absolutely. I'm not so great at reading all these things. Hello, Selma Love.
Hey, Selma.
So Star Seeker also asked for another one. So for Star Seeker, it says, lay blame to yourself, and you cannot know yourself, for only the ego blames at all. And I really love that message, and I'll tell you why I really love that message. Not that I need a reason to love that message, but I do have one. that for me, many, many, many times I've had to remind myself when um just pondering in my thoughts or whatnot. um it's not about just not blaming other people or blaming the world or blaming anything outside. Same goes for self blame. So the rule is the same. I'm not blaming outside, but I'm not blaming inside either.
Right. Um, Recognizing our own innocence.
Or allowing for it, just again, just keep that foot in the door, that little willingness.
Star Seeker says, "Well, awesome, thank you." Cat and Jack is here. Um,
Hi, Cat and Jack.
and someone says Lady Gaga is the best singer. Lady Gaga is a really good singer.
Yeah,
Tremendous
I
voice.
love I love her version of Mr. Rogers' song, and I'm just so glad she took that up. That like made
Yep.
my day. Because
Thank you for
being
sharing
a
that.
big Mr. Rogers fan,
Um,
yeah. Squirrel Sniper said something interesting here. Open mindedness, as for me, always been to suspend my own beliefs, and most importantly, my disbeliefs. And yeah, I so love that, Chipmunk, because that's the foot in the door. Just and you've gone there too. I've seen you go there, Eric, where that guy that you had on and his like lesson that he just keeps repeating. It's like, I don't know, just like I don't know,
um,
foot in the door, and that's like so beautiful because it's like welcoming. It's like I'm not going to, it's a recognition that the mental stuff is keeping all this
right.
active and going, no, I would prefer to just like sit back and listen to the truth and accept the truth.
Which
Be open,
um, which
be open to the truth. Yeah.
which guest?
Your guess, he was a guy, he's really been studying the Course in Miracles like forever since,
Dove
the moon.
Dove Fishman.
Yeah, I think that's him. I think that's him
Right.
because he's got almost like a photogenic memory of stuff
Right.
too. Yeah.
Yep. Speaking of guest, sometime soon, uh, Stephanie Lloyd Lapp and
Mhm.
Stephanie Finn are going to come
Sure.
back up together,
Wow.
and we're going to have a conversation. Like, do
Cool.
you want a topic? Or they said one thing we loved about being up there with you was it was spontaneous, which is the same with you and I. You know, uh, we never know exactly where the conversation's going to take us, but it always ends up nice. Do you see that little dancing corgi right
I
in front of me?
do. So sweet.
It is. Thank you. I
Thank
had a
you.
corgi. I absolutely love corgis.
Yeah, they're darling. So, but one of the things Squirrel Sniper brought up to me is like he volunteered how he looked at open mindedness, and I was kind of hoping that um that you might share that too, like how where you go with open mindedness, what it means for you.
Okay, well, let's read, because it's not very long. Let me read
Okay.
how the course presents it.
Sure.
Because as with everything, um, the course takes things to a different level. It presents it in a way that we might not fully understand,
Sure.
much as it does with forgiveness. People are like, well, I'm not going to forgive this. How we understand forgiveness presented by the course is totally different than
As
how
is
it's presented.
honesty, as is generosity, as is, yeah, lots of
Yeah.
things.
So, the
Cool.
centrality of open mindedness, perhaps the last of the attributes the teachers of God acquires, is easily understood when its relation to forgiveness is recognized. Open mindedness comes with lack of judgment, as judgments touch the mind against God's teachers. So open mindedness invites him to come in. As condemnation judges the Son of God as evil, so open mindedness as evil. Sorry, let me say that again. Um, as judgment shuts the mind against God's teacher, So open-mindedness invites him to come in. As condemnation judges the Son of God as evil, so open-mindedness permits him to be judged as a voice of God on his behalf. As a projection of guilt upon him would send him to hell, so open-mindedness lets Christ's image be extended to him. Only the open-minded can be at peace, for they alone see reason for it. How do the open-minded forgive? They have let go all things that would prevent forgiveness. They have in truth abandoned the world and let it be restored to them in newness and in joy so glorious they could never have conceived of such a change. Nothing is now as it was formerly, nothing but sparkles now which seemed so dull and lifeless before. And above all, are all things welcoming, for threat is gone. No clouds remain to hide the face of Christ. Now is the goal achieved. Forgiveness is the final goal of the curriculum. It paves the way for what goes far beyond our learning. The curriculum makes no effort to exceed its legitimate goal. Forgiveness is its single aim at which all learning ultimately converges. It is indeed enough. You may have noticed that the list of attributes of God's teachers do not include things that are the God's Son's inheritance. Terms like love, sinlessness, perfection, knowledge, and eternal truth do not appear in this context. They would be most appropriate here. What God has given is so far beyond our curriculum that learning but disappears in its presence. Yet while its presence is obscured, the focus properly belongs on the curriculum. It is a function of God's teachers to bring true learning to the world. Properly speaking, it is unlearning that they bring for all that is true learning in the world. It is given to the teachers of God to bring the glad tidings of complete forgiveness to the world. Blessed indeed are they, for they are the bringers of salvation. Funny, it's kind of glad that we put this off because
Because there's a lot there.
there is a lot, but we actually covered quite a bit of this. Removing the blockages
The
and
undoing. It's about the undoing.
the
The
undoing.
undoing is the big part.
What I love is nothing is mentioned of opinion. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, to their thoughts, to their beliefs, to the whatever. It has nothing to do with the open-mindedness that the course is presenting here, because that is handing everything over to the Holy Spirit and saying, okay, my ego might be stuck on this belief. My ego might cherish this opinion. All of it belongs to the ego. But when we say, I'm handing it all over to the Holy Spirit, which is open, which is accepting, which is already without all the barriers that the ego has in place, then we see our own inherent open-mindedness already present and wide open, bursting.
Yeah, it also for some reason, and I really, I mean, if there was like one thing that I was really experientially pretty damn sure of, it's that there really is a peace that is beyond understanding, you know? It's like indescribable, you know, like I couldn't have come up with that one on my own. I couldn't have invented that piece. You know what
Right.
I mean?
Um, Going slightly off topic because I think you'll like this. Our friend Evan, who always calls you the hippie chick,
Mhm.
um, is A Course in Miracles anti-war Vietnam book for hippies? Is there a connection?
That's a really fascinating question, actually. Um, I am quite sure, I mean, that a lot of those like 1960s, 1970s hippies did read A Course in Miracles. Like Alan Watts, he was on it. Uh, Ram Dass as well. So, you know, the Course in Miracles was certainly kicking around in hippiedom. It was, you know, that's when it came out. What, 19 early 1970s?
Yeah, well, it was received starting in '65,
Right. There were bootlegs kicking around before there was.
and then it was published in
Yeah.
'75. So we just had the 50th. They had a big celebration in New York.
Hmm.
The funny thing is, yep, surely it is um, I don't would say that the course isn't anti anything. It's not anti-war because for the course, war isn't even a concept that exists. The Holy Spirit doesn't see war,
Well,
and
there's the battleground. There's above the battleground. What
of the
the battleground is what we've made of it. What the ego is made out of it. You
right.
know, the
Um,
the squalor.
and the great line in the course of do not seek to change the world, but seek to change how you see the world. Um,
Exactly.
and I love how both Emily Perry um, and even Marianne Williamson that are um, if you are called to pick up a sign and protest and march, by all means pick up the sign, but just realize that ultimately it doesn't change the course of the world. Only how you think of the world, as you perceive the world, is the only way it's ever going to change.
But extending the way that you see the world, by extension, something does shift. Also in the world,
Right.
it isn't about powerlessness. It's
Um,
empowering rather than the
right.
opposite.
Well, on the subject of hippies, yesterday, as celebrated briefly on my channel, was Neil Cassidy, 100th birthday. And Neil Cassidy was the compatriot of Jack Kerouac, um, pre-hippie, but the Beats. The
Hmm.
Beats were the hippies before the hippies.
Sure, I know who the
Um,
Beats were.
and
Beat Generation.
yeah, and he later became the bus driver for Ken Kesey as they went from in 1965, because we were talking about 65,
Dead
from
Toes.
yep, from San Francisco to Harvard University to hang out with Timothy Leary and Richard Albert, who later became Ram Dass.
Right.
And Neil Cassidy was the bus was called Further, and it was painted Dayglow,
Hmm.
and um, it was a house band, the bus band, the band that played along the way. Consisted, they were called the Warlocks. Consisted of
Yeah, no, I've heard the Warlocks for sure.
yeah, Jerry Garcia,
Hmm.
Bob Weir, uh, Phil Lesh, and Bill Kurtzman. Later became the Grateful Dead. So it all connects the hippies to the Beats to Course of Miracles because Bob Weir actually was very much inspired by Course of Miracles and wrote some songs that were inspired by Course of Miracles.
Wow, cool.
Yeah,
Didn't know that.
interesting connection that has
Yeah,
no
there
bearing.
it was just a very interesting time too. I mean, talk about shifts. And it gets back to what I was saying, that there were shifts going there were shifts in the outlet. It wasn't the 50s anymore, it was the 60s, and it was
Right.
different, distinctly different from the 50s on all sorts of planes. Yeah.
And yeah, amazing because the 50s lingered. You know, you had early 1960s. You had Neil Sedaka. Um, you had that very light music type of stuff, and even the Beatles from 1963, 64. I want to hold your hand, um, and um, great songs,
Hmm.
poppy songs. But from 63 to 65, they released Help and how deep that song Help is. And then
Hmm.
66, they put out Revolver, and then Revolution, and then Magical Mystery Tour. 6 years away from the 1950s. Um, and they went from the mop tops to long haired hippie freaks. Um,
Drugs.
but the right kind that expanded the mind, expanded the consciousness.
Right. Yeah, I'm not
Um,
knocking it.
and it just amazes me. No other decade had that kind of transformation where the modern culture went from such rigid conservatism, and I don't mean that in a political sense. I mean that in
Right.
the button-down business suit, fedora hat, going to work,
I mean, if you
wife's.
just considering that in the mid 1970s, 1975, when the Course in Miracles was first published, um, women couldn't get a credit card in their own name.
I was going
That's
to
where
say
they
that.
were at. You know,
and amazing. Um, you know, I live in a very progressive county. Um, some consider the most progressive county. This city, the town that I live in, was based upon high ideals in its foundation. And yet, this county in 1971, um, I would not have been able to marry Mocha at the time because she was black. It was in the law book. People had to
yeah, there was a
go
couple from Virginia, if I remember, and I think their last name
love,
was Love.
love.
Was it? Yeah.
Yep. Um, in the 1970s, I was 6 years old. I think it was 1971. I was 6 years old. Um, and just amazing. But things started shifting in the 60s. Women started, reclaiming power. Uh, Segregation began to end. Unfortunately, laws that were in place sometimes are still in place. You know, this is the whole thing about systemic racism that people don't like to talk about.
Can I
Um,
say something systemically about systemic racism? I just read today
sure.
that a governor, there's only one black governor in all of the United States, and he got uninvited to like the national governors board. He's like the vice chairman of the national governors board, where all the governors go and meet with the president. He got uninvited, ostensibly for no other reason than he's black.
Well, amazing. Hey, Evan says, um, would you say that LSD is the same as AI with a generational gap? It's like a drug with a mind expansion.
That's an interesting question. Great questions. Um, I hope not. I think of LSD as something that is affecting people's you know, brains, and therefore brains, and their awareness, their perspectives,
Right.
all the things going on in the brain and how the brain can affect perspectives. And all that happens too, I suppose, with AI. But I think of AI as more of a siphon. It's like a bloodsucker. I think of it as like some sort of like vampiric influence.
My thoughts are that it's a um, external force of that can present some information, but um, the medicine, plant medicine, and otherwise that we're talking about was a internal shift of
Right.
consciousness
Or
that
yeah.
can't be done by anything external. It could only happen from within. You can't have you can't have something outside of you leading into a deep state of meditation. Meditation is always within. You can't have um, a computer or something outside of you that's going to cause that big shift. You don't think?
Fine
Yeah.
line here though, because you're correct in that, yeah, you're ingesting something, but AI is still working on the senses. You're still
Oh, I
hearing
agree.
things and
Right.
seeing things. You're not
But
ingesting them, but in a sense you are taking them.
right.
These are all, organs, and the fact is that people have become addicted to the digital world.
I agree. But I don't think, I guess what I was coming towards was I don't think anything external like AI is going to cause, it's not going to do what LSD did in the 60s in shifting the consciousness to a higher state of being. It's not going to break the heart open and teach it how to love or remind it how to love.
Mm.
It's not, you know what I mean? I don't think because it's not organic. And I'm not knocking AI. I've been using it and I've been
Mhm.
enjoying it.
Right.
Um, but I would not turn to it for uh, expanding my consciousness in any way. I would not turn to it. I would go out and sit under a tree uh, before I would turn to AI as my spiritual
Guru.
sustenance. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I'll tell you that the one thing that I do kind of thought that was like really cool about AI, and this is going to be definitely a Ms. Blipper slam, is that for ages the thing that the dodgiest thing about AI was, so it has used as a source um, all human data, anything that people have put up digitally, anything that they've been able to make digitally. So human beings have been the source of that. Human images, human writing, human movies, human books, human information. The thing that's interesting to me is that when AI, um, instead of sucking the blood out of human beings, it feeds, when it feeds on itself, when you feed AI to AI, it breaks down. It
Yeah,
collapses. It doesn't know what to do with itself.
right. Hey, I'm going to read what Wassa said because I tend to agree with him. I think one reason the hippies got such a bad rap in the 80s onwards because of the deep shame the baby boomers felt at having sold out their ideals in order to live way beyond their means at the expense of their children. They had to villainize them. And I tend to agree to a large extent, not with everyone, as I still know some uh, 1960s baby boomer hippies, and then all of the Grateful Dead managed to keep their ideals. But for a large part, um, they did, which is why Don Henley wrote um, Boys of Summer with that great line, I saw a deadhead sticker on a Cadillac, sort of juxtaposing that life of luxury with the idealism that the Grateful Dead represented from the 1960s. Um, and, when you consider how, and again, not so much to mean this politically, but a little bit, um, how you went from uh, anti war hippies, communal living, um, free love expressing, to a very conservative uh, overall baby boomers. Not, you know, not all, of course, but largely, I believe that voting bloc has now become more conservative than other generations. It's just kind of strange to think of the um, those carrying signs and protesting and now voting for it. I hope people don't take this and run with it. Now voting for Donald Trump. Can you imagine someone who, uh,
Was a hippie in the 60s or 70s voting for Donald Trump?
right?
Right? Yeah.
It's just
Backlash
it is,
against themselves. Yeah.
and that's what I think what's it sort of referring to, that
Hmm.
it's something
Hypocrisy. He's talking about hypocrisy,
right.
basically. Yeah.
Something shifted in that generation to expand the consciousness and talk about free love and grow their hair and break down racial barriers and for women to reclaim their power. And then, for whatever reason, maybe it was a dollar sign, something shifted back, which is this. This is a downfall of plant medicine, by the way, as opposed to meditation.
Yeah, one, Helter Skelter didn't help, but Chipmunk makes a very good point, which is the hippie movement was at first a CIA project. It failed miserably and worked too well. Well, not only, but it also, the hippie movement also later, did get infiltrated with psyops. At that time in history, the CIA was like everywhere. It was in remote viewing. It
Right.
wasn't, it was
Um,
all over the place. It wasn't
one
just
thing that
in the drugs. Yeah.
yeah, one thing I would add that yeah, the what started the hippie movement, the hippie movement itself wasn't started as a FBI. It was using the plant medicine using LSD as a way of mind control that did the opposite of what it wanted. It had them thinking for the first time outside of the box, outside of that the cookie cutter 1950s.
Right,
Uh,
they're looking for a truth serum,
right.
how can this be powerful to us? Yeah, useful
Case in
to
point,
us.
button down Timothy Leary and Richard
Mhm.
Alpert,
Right.
uh, and um, Ken Kesey, conservative. He was a lumberman from Oregon who um, signed up for a college university experiment using the drugs, not knowing that it was set up by the CIA for testing mind control. And it caused his mind to expand so much that he bought a Dayglow van with the or school bus with the proceeds from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which he
Mhm.
wrote when he was ingesting.
Mhm.
Um, and for the rest of his life, he was a down and out hippie. Bought a farm, invited all his friends to live with him.
Mhm.
Did I mention him? Facebook friends with his son, by the way.
Yeah, yeah.
That was for Kat, by the way, because she she says she doesn't really appreciate my odd Facebook connections, but I think deep down she really does.
It's always good name dropping.
It
So
is.
wait, I
Hey,
gotta I
Adam.
gotta scroll down here. Is Adam in the room? Hello, Yogi and Miss Blipper and everyone. I can't text, but I just wanted to say hi. Hello, love. Hope you're well.
I've heard similar stories, Star Seeker. Haystack says, my question is this: what is the issue for voting for Trump? What do you mean, Haystack? Can you give some details on that? What do you mean by what's the issue for voting for Trump? He appeals to some people,
I don't
and
even
that's
see where it's written there. Trying to find it.
Star Seeker had said that Trump had ripped off her father in the '70s and refusing to
Mm,
pay for union labor, which is
I'm
an oft
seeing.
repeated.
Oh, I see. Is this what you're referring to? My question is this: what's the issue for voting for Trump? I have no idea.
Right. That's what I'm wondering, Haystack. So, you know, in line of the conversation that we were having, um, Trump is a leader of a very conservative group, which is fine. I'm not putting any um, like judgment on that, but it's totally opposite of what the hippies were for. So the point is not to make anyone wrong for who they vote for, but to see the
Contrast.
yes between that the long haired hippie waving signs and talking about free love, uh,
The funky
and
before and after you're talking.
right, um, and they going in that conservative direction. So no, definitely at all. It's that contrast. I don't care who anyone votes for. Everyone has their own political beliefs, and I am not here to change anyone's mind. I'm not here to make anyone right or anyone wrong. I'm just pointing out that you know
Yeah, it's
that
like a
generation.
squirrel came out of the cocoon instead of a butterfly.
Right, exactly. Like, Uh, perfect analogy. Um, so it is. No, so I'm sorry that you think it's petty. It's just seeing that how that generation went from one thing to something different. That's it.
And not across the board either.
Right.
You know
Um,
how we were talking about LSD? I think people like Trump and Mark, whatever his last name is, and Walmart and Elon Musk own supercomputers equals LSD, which controls people. Interesting. That's a cool theory. Um, I think there's a lot that we can't see behind the scenes in
right.
terms of. I mean, it's actually a really cool way to look at it. I remember being a kid in the 1970s. I was in the early 1970s. I was living in Palo Alto, California, in the heart of the Silicon Valley. Um, and I remember being in like high school in there talking about uh, today. They're saying, at some point, what they're working on is transforming from a military industrial complex to a technarchy, basically, where technology will become the next economic world economic system rather than military industrial. And it kind of sounded good because the military industrial had been pretty darn ugly. I mean, nuclear bombs and whatnot,
Right,
pretty god awful stuff. And the thing is that nobody, that there wasn't, the technogarchs don't have necessarily any intrinsic ethic or moral or even thought about it. It's like complete, total, plain out, capitalism, based on haves and have nots and nothing more to it than that, basically.
right.
Um, so I don't know in terms of human cooperation where that will go. And it's not a Republican Democratic issue.
No, it is not.
Mm.
Um, it's a shame that, or it seems a shame that you can't have a conversation that that we were having without it, just because you mentioned a name, that it becomes political. You know, if I say Trump, everyone has a reaction, good, bad. Almost no one is. Almost no one goes who. Um, Trump, the guy that was
Well,
in
I'll
Home
tell you,
Alone.
I was personally kind of really disgusted and frightened yesterday or today. I don't know. Friend of mine sent me an AI video of Obama, and it was like completely fake. It was completely like false, just like invented.
Right,
And I was like, it wasn't like the gorilla one. It wasn't that one. It was one of him giving a discourse, him talking about Trump or whatever. It was like completely fake. Now that's stuff kind of, you know, um, scares me. It scares me that it's so prevalent now that, and this again, back to morals and ethics, no accountability whatsoever if they're nudifying women or young girls, or it just
right.
not, it's being abused. I'm afraid of the abuses.
What scares me, I think what scares me the most is what we were saying, that we almost can't have a an actual discussion about these matters without
Right.
um, people like jumping in as you know so without everyone trying to make everyone wrong, that it can't be discussed. Like I can't say uh, posting an AI video representing uh, former president of the United States and his wife in racist tones
Hmm.
is wrong without it becoming a political thing. We know what wrong is. And if anyone has followed the history of racism, you know what's wrong with that. It shouldn't
Yeah.
even need to be explained. Um, so you can like everything that politically that Trump stands for, but we still know what is wrong. Wrong is always wrong. Racism uh, and putting up something like
But
that is
for a long time, back to the past, a long, long time, not, and then I'm not talking just in America, but worldwide. Um, we can say that we recognize that racism is wrong, but you know what? for a long time in a lot of places, they didn't recognize that it was wrong. They thought
Right.
it was like God given
Sure.
or whatever.
Right. Um, so I would like personally to be able to work our way back towards having open-minded and open-hearted conversations without everything being like so personal. You just insulted my tribe, so now I have to go to war. Uh, that you can't make um, a statement like Starseeker. Talked about an actual story. Her father was ripped off
Hmm.
by Donald Trump. Never paid him.
Hmm.
Um, that someone can't say that without it becoming a political uh, weapon. It's a very personal thing. My family was ripped off by someone. It doesn't have to be. Someone shouldn't say, well, you're wrong for thinking that because this guy's the best guy ever.
Yeah, Gene Carroll must have been lying.
Right. Um, and it's the same with along the lines of uh, well, look at Bill Clinton, all of the Epstein files. What do you think of that? Dirty Democrats. I'm like, I don't have a Bill Clinton tattoo. I don't have a Bill Clinton T-shirt. I don't have a Bill Clinton decal. If Bill Clinton is guilty of anything, well, then he should suffer the consequences of his action.
Right.
The same with anyone else that has, you know, and of course, as has been pointed out, we still, just because things have been released, we still don't know what anyone is guilty of. Um, so it's senseless to speculate, including speculating about Donald Trump. You know,
I think for me, my takeaway from that story is clearly the voice of the women who were girls at the time is just, for lack of a better word, shat on. Just
but
not given any credence, not honored in any way, um, not valued.
so from the course perspective, what are we to do?
From a course perspective,
From
what
an
are we
from an
to do?
open-minded perspective
Yeah,
of the Course of Miracles, what are we
yeah.
to do?
Uh, Me personally, there must be a better way. But I'm keeping my foot in that door. I
Right?
am keeping that. Bring it on. Bring on. Give me that vision. Let me accept that vision. What am I putting out there that might block? You know, um, Awareness of a better vision. I'm all for improvement,
Why do
for
you think
seeing
that
some
all
sort
of
of
a sudden
improvement.
in the past decade, it seems like all kinds of blocks to love's awareness has uh, dramatically um, escalated, has filled the air that in a way that I don't think it's been like this since the 1950s. That
But maybe there is like a story that we're not seeing. Like, it's coming out in order. It's like, as long as things are hidden, as long as things are not released because they're hidden, so people don't even know that they're there. They
right.
can't know until it's kind of in their face, and it's been coming out in our faces in a big way.
That was Tina Spalding's when she was up.
Hmm.
That and this is what the Fishman also says: be grateful for your triggers. And now we have triggers appearing everywhere. And now we're given that opportunity of I'm triggered, and this is what Tina was said. This is the great role of Donald Trump is to cause these triggers, is to cause the shadow, to view it, to bring it to the surface. And as course students or otherwise, we know what to do. We forgive our way through the shadows. We forgive not the shadows themselves because they don't really exist. I don't want to forgive a shadow figure. I want to forgive what's within me that is causing me to see these shadows, and forgive uh, my neighbors
Yeah,
and my
choose again
right.
what you want to see.
Yeah, Slipper says because it's time, Eric. Uh, so maybe we're what's the subtitle on some of the editions? Not all of the editions. Advent of the Great Awakening on A Course in Miracles. So maybe we are on an Advent
I
of the
don't
Great
know
Awakening.
about the advent of the I'm not sure I know anything about the advent of the great awakening. It speaks a lot about awakening.
Right,
A
right,
cohesive awakening, though, of all, like again, a shared awakening. It says that it hasn't happened yet. The
right.
old Course in Miracles, the one I have.
Um,
I
yeah,
love that
mine.
chipmunk. This he said something beautiful here. The Greek translation of apocalypse is an unveiling of the truths that will include the unconditional love and forgiveness. Right on.
I know more than ever how committed and happy I am to be a student of the Course in Miracles. That I, for me, I can't make this claim for anyone else. Um, that I see it as a way of um, navigating these troubled times. That I don't think anything else, including I think maybe Buddhism might be a close parallel to that. That it gives us an engagement.
hmm I'm very, very grateful too, just because it's so rich in the real sense of the word, in terms of um, things we can look at, not more than look at, try out. Meaning, I I don't need anybody. I don't need to convince anybody. I don't even need to suggest to anybody that this is a route they might enjoy or want to take. But I totally appreciate what it has offered in terms of welcoming certain experiences. Try it out. know, take this line, see where it goes, put it out there.
Right.
What happens? Does it work? Is there something there? Is there a there, as they say in Italian? C'è una cosa.
Um,
There's no there
and
there.
I think the course can take you all the way home, but I don't know if it's necessary for everyone to pick it up as a way to go home. I think it's
Right.
just it's helpful to if it eases a little bit of pain, a little bit of suffering. Uh, that's enough.
I don't even have to say that going home is necessarily got to be anybody's jam. They might
Right.
already be home as far as I know.
This is true. Did I tell you what? John Denver. I don't know why this occurred to me. John Denver was very much inspired by Course in Miracles too.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he wrote some songs, but they were on his last album and never published.
Mm. I recently was listening to John Denver before he was the John Denver. He used to play in another group of like
Right,
three guys and they had three-part harmonies or something. And I listened to a couple of
John
songs.
Ordendorff or something like that was his original name.
I don't
Um,
remember what they were called. But
can you
I,
imagine
I listened to it just out of pure curiosity.
if he had been driving through Idaho while he was looking for a name that he could have been John Boise?
Yeah, the song that I listened to was not what's the word? It wasn't cynical. It was this kind of a spoof. But it
Right.
wasn't. It was like kind of hardcore. I didn't really like it very much.
He wrote "Leaving on a Jet Plane,"
Yeah.
for which did nothing for him, and he gave it to Peter Paul and Mary.
Oh.
He did a wonderful job of it.
hmm
And then later, um, he re-recorded it and it did much better for him. Same with
Mm,
Willie Nelson. Willie Nelson wrote "Crazy" and it did nothing for him, so he gave it to Patsy Cline and she had a huge hit.
wonderful song.
It is. And then when you hear,
That would
uh,
be a good song for, losing to the Seahawks.
it would. Um, it's it's funny though. You take that Willie Nelson song, you give it to Patsy Cline, and it has a certain feel to it. It's a really good song. Um, but then when you hear Willie do it, and the brokenness of his voice gives it a whole another depth.
Mm. Adam wrote something here, which I just read, and I wanted to add to it. He says, I wonder how many people realize how many Democrats and Republicans go to the same country club, eat the same food, and go to the same events. That is true. And I'm going to add to that by saying that all sorts of corporations who are people too under Citizens United give to both parties. So, the big techno, groups, the big pharmaceutical groups, the big petrol groups, whoever has, the big corporate groups, they're given to both sides. They're not drawing any lines. Corruption's good on both sides.
Yeah, right, right. It
That's
is
part of the
has.
problem because they know if you you know, yank down the pants of one guy, then everybody's pants will get yanked down. That happened, in Italy not too many years ago. I want to say maybe 30 years ago. There was something called Operation Mani Pulite, clean hands. Operation Clean Hands. And it was all about like corporate, um, what's the word? I'm just forgetting that word, that one word, corruption. Yeah, like hardcore corporate corruption, corporate government corruption, um, biasing the tables, controlling shit, monopolies and whatnot, deal
Right.
making, and it was very big and so many guys like killed themselves, like I want to say like 15 guys who were like corporate heads, you know, off themselves. And it it was just exactly what I'm saying is this like one guy, it, retribution. If you're going to make one guy look guilty, then you're going to make the other guy look guilty. And that's kind of like where we're at with the Epstein files right now. Is somebody going to bring down that house of cards?
Hmm. Um, Speaking of houses, I think the house needs to be swept clean. We need a do over,
I'm all for gardening. I'm like, just go out in the garden and like, learn to plant things and give people decent food.
right? I don't know where I don't know where and how things turned in this direction of corporate and individual greed at the expense, and that people who are suffering from that greed, the people with no health insurance, people who can't afford food, are um, the ones who are turning to keep these people in power, defending them, and just don't understand it. Of not just against our own interest, but the interest of our
The destruction of the middle
yeah,
class.
yeah, and everything at the expense of the poor.
I don't know. It just sounds to me like people have been sold down the river.
They have, but you know what? In some way, people sold themselves down the river by believing people who believing in for me the original sin of modern politics, trickle down economics. That hey, I can trust you to trickle some down my way. I can give you my vote, and maybe uh, as you're out there accumulating more and more and more wealth, maybe you'll net some of it, a little bit of it, trickle down in my direction, and I can afford to buy a widescreen TV.
Yeah, there's something there that came with Reagan, but I think actually that the psyops on this operation go even further. I would take it even further, meaning which is kind of oh God, I shouldn't say this on your thing. I don't want to get you in trouble, but it, what they call, a mind fuck or a cluster fuck, whatever what they call it, where endemic to the capitalist system has been this idea that somebody is worth less than you are.
Right,
It's like disinequality is inserted into the mix from the get-go. It was
right,
built on slaves, and on slavery. And it has continued on the disenfranchisement and the inequality of peoples, and then they made corporations people. But they sold all that with the dream that if you just work hard, it'll all be good. And the reason you're not, making so much money is because you're not, putting in 65 hours a week or whatever, being a robot at something you can't stand. Um, no, it's been there's been a psyops and all of that. Just behave and interpret it this way, and this is the way you should see it. I'd say it's as much due to the advent. Well, I can't even say that it's due to the advent of the TV, but that certainly plays a part in it. Yeah.
I agree. I agree. By the way, I'm going to assure you that feel free. You can always use the word cluster here.
Oh, okay. Just don't use the second word.
Uh, and you know what? Sometimes nothing does it like that word. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I was going to say if it wasn't cluster, but it was mind. Give me a great synonym for a mind F word.
I don't know.
Psyop. That's the
Right.
only one I came up with.
Sometimes though, sometimes you just need to f it up a bit.
Mhm.
Sometimes when you had it up to here, when you're
Yeah.
talking about things, you just need to, you know, you need to f it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Ms. Blipper, we're going to wrap things up. I think.
All right.
Um, Thanks again for the conversation. A lot of ground covered.
Keep an open
And
mind.
yeah,
Keep your foot in the door.
um, hey, Anna Marie, how are you? Hello, beautiful people, lovely co-host, and amazing Miss Yogi.
Here, I'm going to reach into the fishbowl for you, Yogi, and then I'm
Okay,
out. This is for Yogi's open mindedness and my own, of course. Teach your own perfect immunity, which is the truth in you, and realize that it cannot be assailed. Do not try to protect it yourself, or you are believing it is assailable.
ties in.
Perfect immunity, that's a kind of cool thing to have.
It is
You wouldn't have it without God's help.
right. We wouldn't have it without trust.
You wouldn't have it without open mindedness. Admit it.
I agree. All of those characteristics tie together.
Yeah.
Um, all right. Blessed day to you too, Anna Marie. I want to add, by the way, that our friend No F's, No Frills, No Mercy is live and he's tying flies and chatting on his channel. If
All
anyone is
right.
looking for a place to hang out, that's the
Cool.
place to be. That's the happening place.
Yeah, this place isn't going to be happening in
No.
20 seconds more. Bye, everybody.
Take
Lots
care,
of
guys.
love.
Love y'all. We'll be back. Hey, Danny. Be
See
back at
ya.
5:25.